I'm kind of filming this a little bit early, but I really want to start reading one of the two series. So I wanted to go ahead and film the introduction to this video where I really want to compare two pretty well-known series that I haven't read either of. So the two series that I have, they both have 3 books in them. And I would say they're like maybe roughly around the same length. The text is pretty similar. But again, I haven't read either of them, so I really am excited to see which one I like the most. I think I'm going to start both of the first books in the series and then see which book I want to continue the most. So the first book in the series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is The Inheritance Games. Okay, so that's the first book that I'm going to start, probably because it's also on Kindle and I feel like I'd be able to read it faster. And then I'm also going to try to read the first book in the Caraval trilogy and just kind of see which one I am drawn to more. I don't know if it's going to be like the most recent read before I start like the next books in the series, or if it's going to be like, no, I can't forget about this one. I've got to keep reading it. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated, but I wanted to share that with you guys before I start the journey of reading these books. So here we go.
In a corner with her books, glitzy reads and she's hooked. Fantasy and love collide, takes a journey deep inside. Pages turn, the world is fast. Magic spells and charms are
about a week
cast.
since I last filmed, and I've actually finished The Inheritance Games. I didn't get any of it filmed. I was traveling to New York. That's where my husband's family lives. And so I didn't actually have any time to film me reading, stopping, any of that book. I finished it by the time we got back. So it did leave me on a cliffhanger. I'm very happy about it because I feel like since it's the first book that I picked out to read, I'm going to need something like that to get me back, like wanting that book to read. But that means I get to start Caraval. So I'm going to really have to like this book in order to continue the series because I actually don't have the other two. I think it's called Legendary and Finale are the other two in this trilogy. And since I don't have them, I'm really going to have to want to continue this series in order to pick it up first, I feel like. So maybe a little bit unfair, but you know, I'm going to, if I like this one better, I'm going to just go pick the books up. So let me just address, I have a little bit of a plan about how this is going to go. I'm going to split this video up into 3 different parts. So this is part 1. Hey, welcome. And I'm going to, in this part, read just both of the beginning books. So I've already read one. I'm going to finish this one. Actually, I haven't started, but I'm going to read this one. And I'm going to try to film a little bit of it for you guys so that you can, you know, just see me read, I guess, whatever. Then I'm going to create a list of like, kind of like a pros and cons list, but I'm going to call it like a like and dislike list. So I've already written some things down about the Inheritance Games just so that I don't forget it, since it's probably going to take me at least another week to read this. I just read really slow, but that's okay. We're going to go through this one. I'm going to write down my likes and dislikes about Caraval, and then I'm going to meet back up with you guys and I'm going to talk about what I liked and what I disliked about both of the books. Hey guys, we have finished Caraval. We are going to talk a little bit about the 2 books that I picked for my book battle. Now, keep in mind, we're doing the whole trilogy, but I started off with the first 2 books just to kind of see which one I wanted to pick up first in terms of like the following 2 books. So whichever one I pick, I'm going to read the next 2 books in my next video, and then I will read the last 2 books of whichever one I haven't finished in the final video and kind of talk to you guys about which trilogy I liked the best. But for now, we're just focusing on book 1, which one gets you hooked more, which one really wanted me to continue to like pick up the next books and read. Now, they both kind of ended on a cliffhanger, so I'm definitely intrigued to continue both books. That was a plus. The Inheritance games gave me kind of scavenger hunt vibes with the puzzle, and Caraval gave me more like escape room vibes. So that's kind of like the biggest difference in the two. They're both very like puzzle game heavy. You're kind of solving things in your head as you go, as you're reading. But I think that the Inheritance games did a little bit of a better job involving the reader and like figuring out what's happening. Caraval kind of just tells you what's happening and like how the clues are like coming together, whereas like the Inheritance games, I found myself putting the puzzle pieces together more, like, but even before like the main character figures out stuff. So we're going to start with the Inheritance games, and I'm going to talk about the pros first. So a couple things that I wrote down, and I'm going to refer over here because I have all my notes and I don't want to miss anything. Some of the pros about this book were that it had really short chapters, so it was a very quick read, a speed read, if you will. I also had it on my Kindle, so that was a plus. It helps you, as I said, like figure out the puzzles. Your mind is working kind of like how the main characters would have worked, and say like, oh, I wonder if this is going to happen, or oh, I predicted that. I got that a lot in this book. The imagery, the writing was not like super sophisticated. It was more of a casual read, but the imagery was still really good. I could visualize a lot of the things that were happening, which was nice. It was very easy to follow everything that happened in this book. Lastly, my last pro, because I did about 4 for both books, was that this book connected storylines really well. So there was like a flashback in the book, and they made it like come to fruition in the present, which provided like a really nice sort of plot twist at the end. And I thought it was very well thought out and definitely deserved some shout out for like just the cohesiveness of the writing. It didn't seem like there were a lot of plot holes, which was nice. The cons about the book, fortunately most books have cons. I had a few with these, and I tried to do 3 for both books, but I felt like this one had more specific cons. So there's the main character, Avery, and she has a best friend. Her name is Max. Avery only communicates with Max through text messages or phone calls. And she often gets grounded because she likes to use inappropriate language a lot. I felt like that was overdone. And it wasn't because there was cursing. In fact, most of the cursing was like fake cursing. So like you would implement a different word that sounds like a curse word, but it's not actually a curse word. I really didn't like that. I would have preferred there be no cursing at all in this book anyway. In general, I just don't think it really added anything to the story. But like to implement the fake cursing as Max's personality really made me dislike that character. So that was my first big gripe. The next thing was just the idea of like a random stranger inheriting this money, like randomly being picked. I just had a really hard time buying into that idea, and it made it really hard to like get invested in this book. Now, towards the end, it kind of puts the puzzle pieces together of like why she was picked, but I don't really feel like it solidified it for me enough for me to like really buy into the idea of her like just inheriting like billions of dollars. And then lastly, there was a character in this book. Her name was Emily, and she was involved a lot in like the brothers, like the family in the book that's supposed to inherit money. She was like friends of the like main 4 brothers in this book. She is dead, and she's brought up so much, but you never actually like meet her or really like see flashbacks or anything with her. So it kind of gave me like 13 Reasons Why or like Pretty Little Liars vibes, where like a lot of the plot revolves around this character that you never meet. And I just didn't really like that. I would have preferred even just to see like flashbacks of stuff happening. It's unfortunate that a lot of the events that happen are significant because this character was there, but she's dead. You want there to be high stakes, but it's kind of falling short. Like, it just kind of fell short for me. Moving on. Caraval. Again, 4 pros, 3 cons. We're going to start with the pros. The setup in this book is really well done. The vibes of sending correspondence and then receiving correspondence at the very beginning of the book, and I'll just open, like, just to kind of show you guys, like, there's like letters in the very beginning. I thought that was really clever. I've never started a book that way, so I just thought it was really well done. It helped me buy into the book very, very quickly. They're already introduced to characters and kind of how their personalities are just through the writing of their letters. And so that was nice and different than like most of the books that I've read. The writing was more sophisticated, a little bit harder to, I think, personally understand. I didn't have a hard time understanding, but I could see like how somebody might have a harder time understanding because it's just very imagery heavy and like description heavy. But I didn't feel like it was too much. I actually felt like it was really nice and it complemented like the magical essence of the book. The chapters were definitely longer than the Inheritance games, but I didn't feel like they were like dragged out too much. Sometimes I'd be looking to see when the chapter was going to end, but for the most part, I'd be like, oh wow, I'm already at the end of the chapter. I thought I thought it was longer. So that was nice. And there was also just like really nice spacing in this book. So like it's separated out by like days. So this is like day 4 of Caraval. That was really nice, getting your mind wrapped around how many days there are, how much time our main character Scarlett has left to do the thing that she's trying to do. So like in this specific book, she's trying to get her sister back because her sister was like kidnapped. It kind of like brought the stakes up a little bit, like having the days like count down to like whenever she's running out of time. Lastly, my 4th pro for this book was there was a little bit of romance mixed in, and it was like romance that turned into romance. The Inheritance games had hints of romance, but it didn't like ever like come to fruition, whereas like this book, the romance is essentially going to happen or happen in the future, like after this book takes place. I don't know what the next book has in store, but like they clearly had some sort of relationship form at the end of this book. My cons with this book were, unlike the Inheritance games where it was just very easy to like put like your mind to work and like follow the clues, I had a really hard time understanding that a clue was happening. So it might say like, go here and figure out what your clue is. And then like Scarlett eventually figures out what the clue is, but you're sitting there reading like, oh, is that the clue? Okay. All right. Okay. It just kind of like shove it in your face a little bit. They would show the clue sheet and she'd mark out like, this clue is going to make you wish for something, and they'd mark a line through it and she'd write in like whatever it was that she felt was the clue. And sometimes she was wrong, but it was hard to follow. This book has a little bit of bringing people back from the dead, which is kind of a pet peeve for me when it comes to books. I don't like if you're gonna kill somebody off unless there's like magic involved, which there kind of is loosely, then don't do it. And like I think that's why like it's kind of a con for me, but I'm like, I kind of understand how they got by with it. It's still a pet peeve of mine, so it went on the cons list. At the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to change the fact that she brought them back from the dead, so it is what it is. And then the last con I had about Caraval was that it was kind of slow towards the end. I had a hard time like just trucking through the end. I got like, so far into it really quickly, and then like the end just kind of dragged a little bit for me. Of course, until the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger kind of helped save it. So those are my pros and cons on both books. I actually rated the Inheritance games 4.25 stars. And I also rated Caraval 4.25 stars. So they kind of tied for me, just simply because they hit the mark in some ways, they fell short in other ways, and I had a good time reading both. They were very, I mean, they're clearly very reputable books for a reason. They both made me intrigued to pick up the next books. So I just felt like they were very, like, they're pretty good equals, you know? I know at the end of the day I'm going to like one more than the other, but that's for you to find out. Tune in next time to see part 2 of Battle of the Trilogies. I'm going to be picking which book I'm going to continue reading, and I'm going to read the next 2 books in that series and give you my sort of synopsis review of those books. Part 3 will be the series that I did not pick. I'm going to finish out and then do an overall, like, which one did I like better. So if you have read either of these 2 books, or you want to just take a guess based on my review, please feel free to drop in the comments which series you think I'm going to be continuing in part 2. Which one do you think that I liked the most? Maybe you'll be right, and maybe it's one that you didn't enjoy as much, and we can, you know, fight in the comments. Just kidding. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you liked the video, like it. If you disliked the video, feel free to dislike it. Comment if you feel like you want to take a guess on which one I'm going to read next, and don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, I'm going to hop into the next book, so I will see you guys in the next video.
Betsy reads, oh she flies through the pages to the skies. Fantasy and romance blooms in her heart and in her room.